All right, we're going live here. Going to be getting this set up real quick. So bear with me as I get this finalized, and then we can rock and roll. So today's going to be a pretty good one. I've been absent the last couple weeks because I've had surgery. I had septoplasty surgery, which is deviated septum surgery on my nose, and I they go in, they cut a bunch of crap, straighten it out, shrink some stuff, jack your nose all up. Then they put these splints in there, and you keep them in there for a week or so. And I had the splints removed yesterday afternoon. It's the first time in a week and a half I was able to breathe, which was awesome. So I've been out for the last couple of weeks. I haven't been doing any lives or any videos. So we are back. This is the first live video since I had the surgery, and appreciate you all jumping on here and tuning in. We're going to be talking about something really important today. I think it's going to be a good one. If you guys hang out, stick around. We're going to be talking a lot about mindset today, because this is really, mindset is what's keeping people from having success in their business and really in their life. Let's be honest. Mindset is 90% of what is the blockage in your life and in business. And so we're going to dive into that as I get final setup here for TikTok. So if you guys have any questions for me today, make sure you throw them in the comments, and I'll be happy to talk about that. This is it's a training, but it's also a Q&A, so we can have some real, actual back and forth, some meaningful conversations. So let me I'm still trying to get this final setup here so I can see what's going on and see the comments a little bit easier. So I appreciate you all jumping on here and watching. I've had some interesting conversations in the past couple days that I want to share with you, with contractors, and I think it's going to be a little eye-opening for you, and it's also going to be very helpful. So 3, 6, bear with me just a couple more minutes here, guys. I think we're good. So hope everybody's doing good. And Ball, I see a bunch of people join on TikTok. I appreciate you all. And it looks like we are ready to rock and roll. So we're good to go. All right. So today we're going to be talking about mindset. Appreciate you all jumping on here. If you have any questions, comments, throw them in the questions or comments, put them in the comments, and I'll be happy to respond to you. So mindset. I talked to a lot of contractors. I had a call this morning, discovery call this morning, with a potential contractor who wants to join my coaching group, the Profit Club. And we were talking, and he said something in the middle of the call, and I was like, wait a minute, back up. I want to ask you about this, because this is the what I hear the most from contractors. And he said, I've been in business for 12 years, and I've had some success. I do okay. I'm not hurting, but I see other contractors. He's like, I got a buddy of mine who's doing $500,000 a year in income. Like, that's what he's paying him. He's making 500,000 in his pocket. And this contractor I was talking to was making less than 100,000, and he just couldn't understand how it's possible. And this guy's very intelligent. Like, he's not a, I don't want to say dumb person. He's probably more intelligent than your average person, right? So it's not about smarts. Like, it's not that he didn't have the smarts or the capability to be able to do better. It's just that he didn't know what to do. And he said, and this was what was so profound. He said, I finally broke down and decided to call and see about getting help. He said, I just felt like I was basically a failure for doing that. And I was like, wait a minute. You're telling me that someone who asks for help in your mind is a failure? And he essentially said, yeah, that's how I feel. And I said, that's the complete opposite of reality. People who ask for help actually are not failing. The ones who don't ask for help are the ones who are failures. because it's an ego thing, guys. Our ego is what keeps us from getting ahead in life. So your mindset that you have right now, the mindset you currently have, is what's gotten you to where you are in your business. And if you're stuck at where you're at, whether it's financially or growth or employees or whatever, if you're stuck and you feel like you can't, no matter what you do, you can't move the needle forward, it's because you've reached the maximum level of mindset that you need to move on to the next level. So you have to actually change your mindset to be able to move to the next level. Okay. Your mindset got you to where you are now, but your mindset is what's keeping you from moving to the next level in your journey. I don't care what metaphor you want to use, the next ladder, the next rung on the ladder, the next peak of the mountain, whatever metaphor, doesn't matter. But it's your mindset is what's holding you back. And your ego is masking your mindset to protect it, because your ego says, if I can build a house, surely I can figure this business thing out. It's not that hard. If I can remodel a bathroom, surely I can figure out how to do sales. So your ego masks the fact that you actually need to get help. You need to change your mindset, right? That is the whole purpose of mentors, of coaches, of reading books, of getting programs, whatever courses. Like, that is the whole point of that, is to stretch your brain, your intelligence level, to stretch your mindset. Because a lot of us, when we start a business as contractors, we have an employee mindset. We have the mindset of that we need to try to make everyone happy. When we go from as an employee to an employer, right? When we go from working for someone to starting our own business, our mindset is that we need to make our boss happy. We need to make our clients that we're working for our boss happy. Because if our boss isn't happy, he's going to be mad at us. I may lose my job. I won't get raises, blah, blah, blah. So we tend to make people happy. That's like our end goal, right? If I do really good work, if I hit it out of the park with this super high quality product, then my boss is going to be really happy. The customer is going to be really happy. And that's going to reflect on me as being, like, good. It's going to make me feel good because I'm making everybody else happy. That is an employee mindset. And so you start your own business and you tend to do the same thing, which is, now I have my own business, so I control my own schedule, because that's what everybody thinks they're doing, is they get to control their own schedule. And I get to set my own prices and do my own thing and do it my way. And now I can do this job the way I want to do it. And I don't have to do it the way my boss wants to do it. And I'm living life, right? I'm doing good. But you still have the employee mindset. And so whenever you start working for clients, especially early on, you're just happy they called you. Like, when you got your first client, whether it was your mom or your brother, your sister, your cousin, your neighbor, your friend, and they're like throwing you a bone, like, hey man, I need some work done at the house here. And you're like, oh, thank you so much. This is awesome. Like, you want to impress the hell out of them. You want to go way above and beyond to make them so happy that they're just ecstatic, and it makes you feel good about yourself, right? And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. That's not what I'm saying. But when you have the mindset of the employee mindset, we're talking about having an employee mindset. When your employee mindset, here is your boss or the customer, here's you, you're trying to make them happy, right? You're below them is what I'm saying. Like, in the hierarchy, you're below them. And so when you start your own business and you still have an employee mindset, your hierarchy is still the same. Here's the customer and here's you, and your job is to make the customer happy. You're below the customer because, I mean, they gave you money. Like, they're hiring you. Like, you're grateful that they hired you, and you want to make them happy and make them proud. And so you're going to work your butt off to make them happy. That is an employee mindset, because you still see yourself below them. And that's not what you can do as a business owner. You are equal to them. They are not above you, and you are not above them. You guys are equal. And so that is a mindset shift that has to happen when you go from being an employee to a business owner. You have to make that shift. And that's just one simple example of changing your mindset. And then it goes on and on and on from there. The same mindset that you need to have to run a lemonade stand as an 8-year-old on your street is not going to allow you to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, right? There is a huge disparity between starting a lemonade stand as a 8-year-old and running a Fortune 500 company as a CEO, right? Like there is a lot there. Most of us can visually and even in our head, we can see, yeah, that like an 8-year-old couldn't run a Fortune 500 company. We know that. Like that's as plain as day. But what we can't do is make the differentiation between going from an employee to an owner and then going from a, in the business owner to on the business owner, working in the business to working on the business. In other words, going from worker to manager to owner. Like those are different transitions that you have to rise. And so it's hard for us as contractors to see the difference between having an employee mindset as a business owner to working in the business to managing employees and still working in the business to being a hands-off owner 100% and all subs or employees. Those require different mindsets to get to those levels. And when you get to that level of, okay, I'm working on the job, I have 3 employees, we're all working together on the job, I'm the lead guy, essentially, I'm the foreman, and we're all working on the job together. If you get to the point of like, hey, I want to get off the tools, like I want to get to the point of running the business, I'm getting older, I'm 38, I'm 40, 45, 50. I need to get off the tools. My body's breaking down. I can't do this every day. Or maybe you have a lot bigger aspirations. I want to grow this into a multi-location business, whatever it might be. It requires different mindset shifts. And you have to kill off the old mindsets and essentially create new mindsets. It's not just, oh, I need to add 1 or 2 things to my mindset to make that shift. A lot of times you have to completely kill off the old mindset and almost like, there's some reptiles that shed their skin or, like lobsters, they shed their shells and all that stuff. I don't even know what that's called. My brain's not working when they morph or whatever that's called. That's what has to happen, right? You have to shed the old mindset completely and create a new mindset. It's not just oh man, I wasn't doing the right marketing. I just need to do better marketing and now everything's going to fall in place. No, like that's not it. Now those little bumps, sure, they help you, right? Those are improvements in your business. But to go from working on the tools every day to being an off the tools owner of a business is a completely different mindset. You have to shed that old mindset, create a new mindset, and then continue on and on. Now, are there some, obviously some skills are going to be required throughout the whole process, right? It's not like this is a Men in Black and I have a little thing here and I'm going to zap your brain and erase everything. And then you have to start new with all new stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. But you have to shed mindsets that are fixed. When I'm talking about having the wrong mindset, I mean, you have a fixed mindset. Your mindset only allows you to arise to this level. And then your mindset says, wait a minute, you can't go beyond this level. Like you can't go any further. Like this is our comfort zone. This is where we're at. So you have to eliminate that mindset and get a new mindset that says, okay, now we're going to go from here to here. And then when you get here, you got to shed that mindset again, get some new belief systems, some new beliefs about how things are done. And then you go from here to here. So your mindset is what's keeping you from growing in your business. So if you got any questions, throw them in the comments. I'm curious of your thoughts on this so far. I'm going to take a little drink here and hydrate. I'm also going to wipe my nose. If you didn't catch the beginning of this, I had a surgery last week on my nose, and so I still get some little drainage coming out. I had a septoplastic surgery on my nose so I could try and breathe better and sleep better at night. So if you guys have any questions or comments, throw them in there in the comments real quick, and I'll address them while we're taking a little pause here. Okay, so I've talked about this before. I have a free Facebook group for contractors called the Contractor Profit Group. It's really designated like specifically for contractors, remodeling contractors, landscapers, general contractors, really anybody who's a contractor. But I actually have another free group that I've had for several years. I started several years ago. And that one is specifically for handyman businesses because my business used to be handyman and remodeling. And I always saw a lot of handyman businesses struggling, right? So I really initially, before I started Hammer and Grind, before I started the Profit Club, I was trying to help out handyman. And I started this group many, many years ago. I'll be honest, I don't do a whole lot in that group. All my focus is in the Contractor Profit group and my coaching group. But occasionally I'll throw stuff in there and I'll make comments and people will ask questions and I'll answer them. And I had a guy yesterday, and this is about mindset here. I had a guy yesterday, he commented, he said, "Hey, I'm looking to find a mentor. How do you go about doing that? Like, do you just call up businesses and say, can I talk to the owner and then ask him if they'll mentor you? Like, how do you go about finding a mentor?" So first of all, great. Like you're looking to get better. That's great. Right. And he said he'd been in business for a while. He's had some success, but he feels like there's much more room for growth. That's all great. And I responded to him and I said, what is your expectation? What expectations do you have of your mentor? And the response that he gave me was, well, I want him to be like a teacher and a coach and tell me, what I'm doing wrong and all that stuff. And I said, no, man, what is your expectation? You gave me a description of what a mentor is. I'm saying, what's your expectation? Do you expect them to get on a call once a week for an hour? Do you expect them to, have them ride around have you ride around with them every day for a week? Like what's your expectation of them and what they're going to do for you? And he kind of was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll laugh out loud. Well, that's not really my question. I'm just trying to figure out how to find mentors. And I was tired last night. I was feeling a little feisty. And I said, no, dude, how in the hell can someone give you recommendations if you don't even know what your expectations are, right? Like I was trying to help this guy out and he gets all butthurt. Well, I'm not looking for, if you're trying to sell me something, I'm not interested in that. I'm not looking to pay somebody to do that. I'm not all about that. I want somebody that I can, talk to and share life with and do all this, super high level, spirituality things. And I was like, okay, well, if you don't know what to expect, like what your expectations are, the people aren't going to, help you out. Right? People aren't just going to willy-nilly talk to you and mentor you if you don't have your crap together and know what you're talking about. And I was trying to help this guy. Like I was honestly trying to help him. And he just got butthurt, told me I was a dickhead and left the group. He rage quitted the group. Now, I don't care about that. That doesn't bother me. He called me a dickhead, flicked me off and did all that stuff. I don't care about that. My illustration of this is that's a mindset problem. He has a mindset problem of he wants people to help him, but he's not willing to do the most basic exercise of figuring out what you actually want in life. What is your expectation, right? Exactly, Troy. If you don't set goals, you can't achieve them, right? And as someone who, I coach contractors for money, like that's what I do to make money, but I also help, like I'm doing this live for free. I do a lot of free stuff for people. And I actually a lot of times jump on messenger conversations and message people for 20, 30 minutes and give them free advice. Sometimes I'll even get on a call for 30 minutes or an hour and give them free advice because I still want to help people, right? Like I still generally want to help people. But if you're looking for a mentor, you need to have your shit together. You need to know where you want to go. And people who want to mentor you are going to only want to work with people who know what they want, right? This guy has a limited belief. He has a mindset problem. One, he doesn't want to pay anyone for anything, right? So he wants free advice. And two, he's not even willing to do the most basic example of what you want, and then gets butthurt about it because I call him out on it, and then quits. Like, that guy has a crappy mindset. And as long as he doesn't change that, he's always going to be struggling. So I see a bunch of comments coming in. What is your suggestion? Jason says, what is your suggestion for designing a GP range? I'm assuming you're talking about gross profit. What's the optimal gross profit? It's 50%. 50% or more. So 50 to 60% is the optimal gross profit. 50% is the minimum. Now, I'm not saying if you get 45, you're going to go out of business. I'm not saying that at all. Some of you guys are getting like 30% gross profit. And if you bumped it up to 45, like, that's game changer for you. But 50% is what you need to shoot for. And that's what I teach my clients, is that 50%. So what does that mean? Because people get gross profit and markup confused. A 50% gross profit means if you have a job that you have $1,000 in labor and $1,000 in material, that's $2,000. You have to mark it up 100%. That's times 2. So you would take 2,000 times 2. That gives you a sale price of $4,000. And so if you do that job and you job cost it at the end, and you have $2,000 in expenses, you have $1,000 in labor, $1,000 in expenses like materials, and you hit that on the head, and you're going to have a $2,000 gross profit, or a 50% gross profit margin. So that means that your profit is 50% of the total price, right? A lot of people, I've talked to contractors, say, what kind of gross profit you get? And they say, I get a 60% gross profit. I'm like, oh, that's good. So that's what you're getting on the after you close the job. And they don't understand. Like, no, that's how I mark up my materials and stuff 60%. I'm like, that's not a 50% gross profit. Your markup is not the same as a gross profit. All right. So 50%, 50 to 60%. I have clients getting over 60%. I've gotten as much as 85% gross profit on smaller jobs. Smaller jobs allow for higher gross profit percentages. If you're doing like a large, $200,000 project, if you can get 85% gross profit, like, you're freaking amazing, right? So there's a little bit of a scale, but I don't want to give you like percentages, because it really is what you can get. I have one client that they do $700,000-$800,000 projects, and they're getting 50% on those projects. So it's not really price specific, but the higher the dollar amount is, generally the harder it is to get higher gross profit percentages, if that makes sense. So Crown Deck Coatings says, when is the best time to increase my price as a subcontractor? Today is the best time. The thing that sets you apart from most coaches is that you've actually done it. You're not pretending. Yeah. I have it's interesting that you say that. T Gallantly, I don't know how to say that. So there's different levels in business. I've in my construction business, I never broke $1 million in revenue. I just never got there. There's lots of guys that do 5, 10, 20, $30 million a year in revenue. There's lots of guys that do over that, right? And there's different levels to this game. So there's a lot of people that say, well, if you haven't made more money than me, in other words, if you've only done $600,000 a year in revenue, and I'm currently at $1.5 million a year, you're not going to help me get to the next level, because you're not above me. And there's a lot of fallacy, and there's a lot of limited belief in that. Now, I'm not saying that anybody can just help anybody. I'm not saying that. There's things that I don't know, I haven't experienced, and that's why I don't help, companies that are doing 5 million. I'm not out there promoting that I'm going to get you to $20 million a year in revenue. Like I don't do that. I help contractors that are sub 1 million that want to get up to and a little over 1 million a year in revenue, because that's kind of my sweet spot, right? But that doesn't mean you can't learn anything from people that I've learned things from my clients that started 6 months ago, and we're having conversations and they go, well, this is what I do in my business. And I'm like, oh man, that's brilliant. I've never thought about that. I've never used that technique. I've never done that thing. And that's great. I'm going to add it to my repertoire because I've never thought about that. So this idea that you can only learn from people that have gone further than you, and that's the only way you can learn, is limited belief. Now, there is truth in that. There is truth that, if you want to get to $20 million a year in business, you're probably not going to learn how to do that from me, right? So I can't 100% get you there, but that doesn't mean that you can't learn things from people that are below you in terms of revenue growth. Because revenue, first of all, revenue is a vanity number. If you guys don't know this, revenue is a vanity number. Revenue is for bragging rights and for selling courses in business, right? Because you could do $2 million a year in revenue, but you may only put $100,000 a year in your pocket as the owner. And that's terrible. Like, that's terrible margins. I know companies that do $600,000 a year in revenue, and the owner is putting in his pocket $200,000 a year of profit in his pocket. That's a really, really good, healthy business. So don't get caught up on revenue all the time. That's just a vanity number, right? The bottom number, the bottom line, the net profit is what matters. So I just thought that was interesting that you said that about pretending. What percent do you allow for marketing? So I don't really go for percentages. I don't like percentages when it comes to budgeting. I know that sounds like counterintuitive. I like to keep things as simple as possible, like super simple. There's guys out there that are numbers nerds that have spreadsheets, and they know to the penny how much money they spend, on saw blades every year and all this. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I personally am not that detailed when it comes to tracking numbers. So I don't get too caught up on percentages in terms of marketing. It's how much do you need to spend to get the results that you're looking for. Now, that generally is going to be somewhere between 5 and 10% of your revenue. But I don't like percentages, to be honest with you. I hardly spent money on marketing, and I had so many freaking leads, it blew my head. Last year in my construction business, I had over 600 leads, and I only spent on average $150 a month in marketing, like actually spent money. So my percentages are like less than 2%. So I don't believe that you need to go and say, oh, I'm making $1 million a year, therefore I need to spend $100,000 on marketing. I don't think that's an equal transaction. I think some people need to spend way more on marketing because of the trade that they're in, the location, just the demographics about their situation. And other people don't have to spend any money on marketing whatsoever, and they do really well. So I just don't like to give out percentages like that. Do you feel project business is slowing down due to the current market economy conditions? I think it's slowing down a little bit, Mike. I think that people that have their businesses dialed in, it doesn't matter. I think if you look at it from a 30,000 foot view, yeah, it's slowing down. But if you zoom in down to, one person, you wouldn't know, like you wouldn't be able to know if it's slowing down or not, because really the ones that are doing really good, the economy doesn't affect them really at all. The percentage of markup materials is 100%. You should mark up your materials 100%. Now, the only caveat to that, I'll tell you this. If you're doing something that's like really unique. I always like to use the example of like a door. Let's say you're like, say somebody wants to install a front door. There's some really expensive front doors, right? Like you could buy a front door for $10,000, like super expensive, custom made, arch top, all this craziness. And you're just going to install the door. Well, if you do 100% markup on the materials, that's a $20,000 price point, and then you got to add your labor on top of that, and you may charge $2,500 to $3,000 labor. Now you're at $26,000 to install a front door. If you do that way by 100% markup, that can price you out of the job. So what I typically do is if the materials are like a special order, very special, unique thing that's going to be 3 times more than the cost of labor, then I don't mark up the materials 100%. I may only do a 50%. I possibly only do like a 25% markup on the material. But what I do is I offset some of that by marking up my labor more. So instead of doing 100% markup on labor, I may do 150% markup on labor. I may do a 2.5 markup factor instead of a times 2. So I kind of make up some of that money on the labor side of it so that it doesn't throw it way out of line, if that makes sense. But most, like as a general rule, it's 100% markup. Crown Day Coatings, Deck Coatings says, I'm thinking about subbing work as a sub. Would that be a good idea? Are you currently like doing your own work, but now you just want to be a subcontractor? Is that what you're asking me, Crown Deck Coatings? If that's what you're asking me, it depends on what your goal is. It depends on what the end goal that you're looking for. It may or may not be a good idea. Pandemic contractors will be the first ones to feel slowdown, in my opinion. Yeah, 100%. 100%, Mike. These guys that started their business in the last 2 to 3 years that have, like, as soon as they start their business and they throw a magnet on their door and the phone starts ringing off the hook, you guys don't know what marketing is. You don't know what it's like to actually have to go out and hustle to get business, because from day one, the phone's been ringing off the hook and you're like, oh, this business stuff's easy. It's super easy to be a contractor. And I'm thinking, no, when I started my business in 2009 at the back end of the housing market crash, when there was no work, you had to work your ass off just to get small jobs and just to get little leads. So the ones that have been around this a while are going to be fine. The ones that started in the last 2 to 3 years, if you don't have a very strong marketing presence, a very strong brand, and it does slow down like really, really bad, like almost to depression levels, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in big trouble. Some of you guys don't even have websites. You don't do any social media marketing. You don't have any marketing whatsoever in place. You're just living off of this crazy condition that's in the market right now, and you're going to get caught with your pants down. So if you're one of those listening to me and you've been started in the last 3 years, you need to make sure you have a strong website. You need to have your Google My Business or it's now Google Maps listing up to date, a bunch of reviews. You need to have a bunch of social media on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. You need to start creating content. You need to create your email address, have a customer list that you can remarket to for additional work. Like, you have to get that stuff in line. It's not going to be like this forever, guys. If it does, great. Like, you're just going to be that much further ahead, but it can't physically last like this forever. Everything is cyclic in real estate. Everything. Trying my first basement finish. 850 square foot framing will be roughly 20% for the labor and material. $5,000, $20K. I'm not 100% understanding that. GM 1017. The framing will be 20% for labor and material. Is 5,000 your labor and material, and you're selling the job for 20K? Is that what you're saying? Crown Deck Coatings says, no, I work for a contractor. So you're like an employee currently for a contractor and you want to go out on your own and be a subcontractor. Is that what you're asking me? Are you going to work for the same guy that you work for now, but just as a subcontractor? I can give you a couple things while you answer. The idea of being like a 1099 contractor where they're just paying you X amount and then you pay all your taxes and stuff, but you're still really kind of an employee is the worst idea you can do. If you want to be a subcontractor, that's fine. There's lots of subcontractors that do really well. But I wouldn't do it in the sense of I think there's going to be tax advantages and I'm going to make more money by being a sub, but I'm still going to work for the same guy I'm working for now. If that's what you're talking about, I would not do that. But if you want to be a subcontractor and go work for other contractors, other GCs, and do your own thing, I think that's a great idea. Again, it depends on what your end goal is. Like, what are you wanting to accomplish? What's your end goal by doing this? Jimmy says, what should be marked up on subbed out contract? 100%, dude. 100% across the board. 100% labor, 100% materials, 100% subs. Now, if you didn't hear me earlier when I was talking about when you have offset like materials, you can, again, that may change a little bit. If you're doing a remodel in a basement and your, framing costs are $3,000 and the drywall cost is $2,000 and the electrical is $1,000, and then you get a painting bill for whatever reason, and the painting bill is like $10,000, which is like way out of line, then I may not mark up my painting 100%, but the other things I'm marking up 100%. So it really depends on if there's something that's way out of kilter in price, I may not mark it up 100%. But as a general rule, I mark everything up 100%. He says, I still got to do flooring, paint, drywall. I only have $15K left. I mean, you underbid the job, dude. I mean, should you be worried about having enough money left? I don't know, because I don't know what your prices are going to be, but I can tell you right now, based on those numbers, you didn't charge enough. 20,000 was not enough to do that job for a basement finish. I mean, if you did a full basement, like finish out, framing, drywall, painting, everything, like an average basement's like $40,000, $60,000, $80,000. So I can pretty much tell you underbid that job. I can't tell you if you're going to be in trouble or not, or be under on it. Crown Deck Coatings. I am a subcontractor. Okay. I just work for a contractor helping build new goal is to get more help. I'm not 100% understanding you, Crown Deck Coatings. I want to give you a good answer, but I'm just not 100% understanding. You said, what's the best time to increase prices as a subcontractor? I told you now. And then you said thinking about subbing work as a sub. So you want to sub out work. You're a subcontractor for somebody, and then you want to sell the job and then turn around and sub that work out to somebody. If that's what you're talking about, usually general contractors don't allow you to sublet work, like sub out work. If I'm hiring you as it says Crown Deck Coatings, so I'm assuming that you're doing deck coatings. Could be wrong, but let's say that's what you're doing. You're doing deck coatings, and I hire you as a sub to come and do coatings on my deck. And then some other dude shows up to do the work, and it's not you because you subbed it out. I'm probably not going to be happy about that. Like, I expect you as a subcontractor to show up and do the work. So either you need to become a GC, sell your own jobs, and then sub out work to other crews, or you need to bring on people as employees of your company to do the work. I'm not saying you can't do it. Like, there's people that sub out subs who sub out work. I'm just telling you that as a GC, I was a general contractor. I expected my subs to do the work and not sub it out to someone else. Now, if you have a conversation with your contractor and be like, hey, hey John, I'm going to start subbing the work out because I have too much. I'm going to, that'll allow me to keep doing the work for you and make more money. And the guy says, well, that's fine. I don't care as long as the work gets done right. I don't care who does it. Then that would be perfectly fine. Yeah, I mean, if you're working for one dude and he's okay with it, then go for it. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying that not everybody's going to want to do that. In terms of general contracting world, most general contractors don't want subs to sub out work, but that doesn't. It's all about having conversations. Like you just have to have that conversation with him and see what he's okay with. Maybe you can't keep up with the amount of work that he's producing, and he's asking you for solutions, and you're like, hey, me and my crew can only do one job a week, but if I bring on 2 other crews, then now I can do 3 jobs a week. And he's like, cool, that meets my demand and you'll be in charge of it. Then it's a win-win for everybody. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that. If you're only supervision, in other words, if all you're doing is making the phone call, maybe ordering the materials and the guy's showing up and doing the work, then you would effectively would keep your prices the same that you're charging, and then the subcontractor would not make as much, right? Or you would have to maybe lower your profit, like your actual profit that you make, in order to compensate what they charge. You just have to work through that. I mean, you may have to up your prices, but again, it depends on who the guy you're working for is and what he's comfortable with. But I mean, if you're making a 50% gross profit now, that with you doing the work, and then you're going to sub out the work to someone else, and you still want to make a 50% gross profit, I think that's probably a little unrealistic. Great. If the guy comes in and says, hey, I'll do the work for what your, cogs are, what your costs are, maybe he doesn't know any better, then, and he's willing to do that. I mean, I guess that's okay, but you also want your subcontractor to be successful because you want them to keep working for you. So maybe instead of making a 50% gross profit, you're only making a 25% gross profit on him in that specific scenario, because really all you're doing is making a phone call and ordering materials. You still have to warranty his work. This is where it gets tricky, because what if he screws it up and you have to go back and redo the whole thing, right? So that's what the warranty part of it comes in. And this is another reason why you need to be getting 50% gross profit. So it really just depends on the subcontractor cost, what your general contractor cost is, and what he's willing to pay. Those are just conversations you're going to have. But if all I'm doing is making a phone call, I'm making 2 15-minute phone calls and going by the job site for an hour, and I can make $2,500 every time, I'm not gonna like cry about those kind of profits. I have no idea what all you're doing and what the profits are and all that stuff. I'm just making it up. But I've made a lot of money simply making phone calls, subbing stuff out by marking up the materials, marking up the cost. If that makes sense. Jimmy says, do I need to find a cheaper sub? Jimmy, what are you doing again? What I missed, Jimmy? All I saw was, oh, what should markup be on subbed out contract? I said 100%. And then you said, do I need to find a cheaper sub? No, you just need to get good at sales, man. Guys, we think about this for a second. Nobody here wants to like make less than what they're making, right? Like, comment below if you're like, I make too much money and I really want to make less money. I'm going to go on a limb and say nobody's going to comment. So why would we want to go find a subcontractor who makes less money? If they're making less money, it's because they don't know what the hell they're doing, which means that eventually they're going to go out of business. And so if you want that relationship to last and be a good one, you should be paying them more money. Ultimately, the client pays for that. And if you understand that the construction industry has been undervalued for the last 2 decades, at least 20 years. If you look at costs of materials and labor for the last 20 years, it's barely moved. Now, we've obviously the last couple of years we've had shortages, supply shortages, and that's changed things. I'm not talking about that. If you're looking at overall the trend of what the increase in labor price, the labor hourly rate, and the material prices have barely moved in the last 20 years. Everything is undervalued right now. And so there's going to be the construction industry right now is a great place to be for opportunity, but the prices are going to start going like this, and they need to. And so you have to get really good at sales. You have to get really good at running a business. You have to get really good at branding and marketing. And you're going to have to be really good at educating your clients as to why the prices cost more. And they're either going to pay it or they're not, right? That's so why would you want to go find someone who is cheaper? I actually pay, if I subcontract work, I actually look for ways to pay them more. One thing that you can do is actually put like a 10% bonus on the end of the job. So like if you have a contractor, let's say you have a drywaller, I'm just using that as an example. Let's say you're a home builder and you're building houses and you have a drywall hanger guy hangs and finishes your drywall for you, a company. I would go to them and say, look, give me, what's your price to hang this? And they may say it's whatever, $10,000. Okay, here's the deal. And how long is it going to take you? They say, oh, it's going to take 2 weeks. Okay, cool. If you get it done in a week, I will give you a 10% bonus. So I will actually give you an extra $2,000 if you get it done in a week instead of 2 weeks, as long as the quality is still the same. I'm going to incentivize my subcontractors to do more if they can get. Now I'm using rough examples, like maybe a week's not possible. Maybe it's not time frame. Maybe it's just quality. Maybe it's, hey, if you clean up your mess, I'll give you an extra 10%. Whatever it is, like use that to incentivize your subs. Don't go to them and say, man, I'm really over on this job. I need you to come off. I know you told me 10,000, but can you do it for 9? It'll really help me out. That's because general contractors don't know what the hell they're doing. They're not charging enough. I'm the other way. I'm like, dude, what is it going to be? 10,000? Cool. 11,000? Okay. Hey, here's an extra 1,000 if you get it done early. Here's an extra $500 if you clean up your mess when you're done. Maybe they don't clean up their mess. And I say, hey, what's it going to cost? How much more would it be if you cleaned up your own mess? Well, we don't really do that. I know, but how much would it be? Well, it'd be like $500. I tell you what, how about if you clean up your own mess and you get it done within those 2 weeks, I'll give you $1,000 extra instead of $500. Tell me that subcontractor is not going to be more excited to work for you than not, right? So if you're helping your subs make more money, they're going to want to work for you and they're going to want to do a better job for you. And yes, you pass that cost on to the customer. And yes, they will pay it. So and obviously you can't like add $1,000 to every single subcontractor that's working for you. But I think you understand the point of this is to, you want to create healthy businesses and everybody should be making money. It shouldn't be a situation where it's you're the one making all the money and your subcontractors are barely breaking even. They can't afford to put their kids, buy baby formula for their kids because you're beating them up on price to get a discount so you can make more money. That shouldn't be how it is in construction. It should be everybody's making money. I hope that answers your question, Jimmy. You guys got to understand too that everybody's numbers are different. Just because John over here charges $1.50 a foot to hang and finish drywall, and Chris over here charges $1.75 a foot, that doesn't mean that Chris is too expensive. It doesn't mean that John is too cheap. It just means they have different overheads. Maybe Chris is he's got 6 guys on his crew and John only has 3. It takes him 3 weeks to do it and John does it in 2. Whatever it might be, like, you guys can't get hung up on pricing. It's about experience. It's about the overall. Sometimes you can go with a cheaper bid. Sometimes you need to go with a more expensive bid. So, lots of questions coming in. I appreciate it, guys. We started off talking about mindset. We kind of diverted into some questions, which is cool. Totally okay with that. Just looking at my times or not. Oh, I see now. Never mind. So any last questions you got for me? I'm coming up on 1 hour or so, and I want to be able to help you. I started with the mindset. Like I said, I just want you guys to understand that getting help, and I don't care if it's with me. I don't care if you go talk to other contracting coaches. I don't care if you just read a book. Like, getting help is not a sign of weakness or failure. Getting help is a sign of intelligence. Like, that's what we all need to get to the next level. I mean, we go to school for most of our, childhood to learn how to function in the world. But for some reason, we think that we don't need to go get additional help to learn about business, because nobody teaches business. Like, I'm sure most of you are very good at your craft, and that's not hard to do. But a lot of people suck at business. And that's where I try to help contractors bridge that gap, is by teaching you the business side of things, because that's what's really important. GM says, where do you think is a good place to find subs for specific trade? Other builders, your competitors. If I don't know what you do, GM 1017, but other competitor, like if you're a home builder, I'm asking other home builders. And you may say, well, they're not going to tell me because they don't want me to steal their subs. Well, that's a limited belief system. That is a mindset problem. There's so much business out there. It's ridiculous that we can all help each other. You can put article. I mean, find. Sorry, I was just looking at the comments. I can't say, like, you can't go to Subs R Us and find subs. Like, there's no one specific place to go to find subs. I'm still looking here. What do you think is a good place to find subs for a specific trade? I would ask other trades. So let's say you're looking for a good electrician. Go ask a plumber. Why? Because the plumbers work alongside electricians. So if you have a really good plumber, go to your other trades and say, hey, do you know a good electrician? A lot of times, if this plumber that works for you works for other builders, they know who's good. They know when they go into a house with an electrician's a dick, or they see him cutting corners, or they're not, doing other stuff. Like, the plumber knows that electrician sucks. So if you want to know how to find trades, go ask other trades who they recommend. If you can't ask general contractors, if they're not willing to tell you, then go ask other tradespeople who they recommend, because they will recommend. And here's the thing: let's say you're asking your plumber who's a good electrician, and this plumber knows that you're going to hire this electrician. Do you think that plumber wants to work with a shitty electrician where they're fighting over him running lines in the way of the plumbing? Or do you think the plumber wants to work with a good electrician that he gets along with? He's going to want to tell you people that they want to work with, right? So that I would ask other trades. I would ask other general contractors, and then I would ask other trades who they recommend. Also, one other thing too, I just remembered, is supply houses. So, like, say you're looking for an electrician, I go to the electrical supply house, talk to the guys at the sales counter. Hey, I'm looking for some electricians. Who do you recommend? Now, they may, if they're trying to be politically correct and not show favorites, they may say, here's a list of 20 electricians that come in here. Or they may say, well, here's 3, but based on feedback and interactions, I'd probably call this one first, right? So trade houses or supply houses can also give you good leads or good recommendations. Okay. 216 Pincher LLC. Yeah. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Sam Adams, Can't sell my first job. No one wants to pay. Wasting time doing these free estimates. No jobs. I feel you. I feel you big time on that. That's a mindset. That's a limited mindset belief. Okay. So you're struggling a little bit with some belief systems. If no one wants to pay, then find the people who want to pay. This is a very common misconception with people, is that you believe the phone rings and your job is to sell that person. That's not true. Your job is to find out if they meet the criteria to have any more of your attention. So if you don't have a strong marketing, if you don't have strong branding and strong marketing, and your phone's ringing a lot, you have to go through more people to find the right people. And I use the example of, if you're going fishing and you want to find bass, if you're trying to bass fish, okay, and the way you're going to find the bass fish, and maybe you don't know anything about fishing, it doesn't matter, but if you want to find bass and you go to the bank and you throw out a line with a bobber and a worm and a hook, you're probably going to catch a lot of bluegill. You're not going to catch very many bass. Now, there may be a bass that just happens to be at the right place at the right time, and he's hungry and he sees your hook and he bites it and you catch him. But statistically, you're probably not going to catch a bass. You're going to catch a lot of bluegill. And so you catch a bluegill and you're like, oh man, I got a bluegill. I'm going to turn this guy into a bass. I don't, unless you're a genie or something, or you know some witchcraft, you're not gonna convert that bluegill into a bass. It's not gonna happen. So if you're catching bluegill all day and saying this is my price, and the bluegill's saying I don't want to pay that, that doesn't mean that there's not people out there who are willing to pay for you. It means you're catching the wrong clients. So you have to change up your strategy. You can't go to the middle of the lake and say, okay, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to throw a net in the lake and I'm going to catch all these fish. Well, that's fine. Maybe you catch 10 fish. One of them is a bass, 8 of them are bluegill, and one of them is a catfish. Well, you have to go through 9 fish to find that bass who's willing to pay for you, right? That may work, but you still have to go through a lot of fish. So the answer is, you figure out where the bass hang out. You figure out what kind of lures the bass like. You figure out what time of the day they like to eat. And now you invest in a bass boat and you go out there and you start trolling the banks early in the morning when the dew's coming up, and you're fishing under structure with worms and you got the right jiggle and all this crap. And now you're going to be way more likely to catch the bass that you want, and they're going to be more likely to pay your prices. So when people say no one wants to pay my rates, it's because you're fishing for the wrong clients. And that's marketing. That's a marketing problem. So I hope that helps. It's also a mindset problem. It's a limiting belief. Your belief is, I can't find good clients. That's not true. Or, good customers. I have clients all over the world, mostly Canada and the US, that are doing really, really well. Like really well. So get better at identifying who your ideal client is. And here's a tip: if you don't know, your first job. Yeah, I mean, your first job is going to be a lot harder because you're new to this. But the way you do that is you identify who your best clients are. I usually go through the exercise with my clients and say, okay, who is your top 10 clients of all your clients that you've done work for? Who are the top 10 that you like to work for? And then figure out everything about them. What's their demographic? Where do they live? Where do they work? What type of family structure do they have? What kind of cars do they drive? What zip code do they live in? You find everything out about them, your best clients, and then you start marketing to those types of people. So since you haven't sold a job yet, I would say, try to figure out who's going to be an ideal client. And I can tell you this: most people that are ideal clients are not in the poor class, and they're not in the middle class. They're in the upper middle class to wealthy class. Usually in the middle the middle of the middle class to the upper middle class is like the sweet spot. All right. So, yeah, guys, I need to hop off here. I appreciate y'all jumping in. If I can help you in your business, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to share some resources or point you in the right direction. If you want to step it up to the next level and shortcut all of this, let me know. I can share with you about the Profit Club and what that looks like working with me. Be more than happy to shortcut that for you. So I'll be live again on Monday afternoon, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. So come back and watch another one if you want. And I appreciate y'all. If you're not following me, make sure you follow me on TikTok. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Have a great weekend.